My mother-in-law cut my hair in my sleep because she thought I cheated on my husband. Plus updates. Original post. So I'm still processing this, but I need to get it off my chest. Last night, I woke up and realized someone had butchered my hair. One side is a jagged pixie cut and the other side hangs awkwardly past my shoulder. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. Maybe I sleepwalked or something, but no. I confronted my husband Tim because he's been acting weird lately, but he denied it. Then he dropped this bombshell. My mom, she might have done it. Apparently, my mother-in-law, let's call her Diane, is convinced I've been cheating on Tim. Why? Because last week, she saw me having lunch with a coworker. For the record, the coworker, Kyle, is gay, and we were literally talking about work. But Diane decided I must be having an affair, and instead of, talking to me or Tim, she broke into our house in the middle of the night with scissors and went full Edward Scissorhands on my hair. This morning, I confronted her. At first, she played innocent, but when I pressed her, she literally said, "Well, maybe now you'll think twice before humiliating my son." I was fuming. I told her Kyle isn't even into women, but she just rolled her eyes and said something like, "That's what they all say." I didn't even know how to respond to that level of delusion. Tim is horrified and apologetic, but I'm struggling here. This woman violated my personal space, destroyed my hair, and acted like she was in the right. I want to go no contact with her, but Tim is stuck between me and his mom, and I feel like this is going to be a huge blow-up in our marriage. Any advice? Because I'm honestly at a loss here. Now for the top advice before reading the update. This is assault. Please report her. Terrifying. You're right. It does feel like a form of assault, and I've been seriously considering reporting her. It's not just about the hair. It's the violation of my personal space and a sense of safety in my own home. I'm still weighing the pros and cons of escalating things legally, but comments like yours are helping me see how serious this is. Thank you for validating how terrifying it really was. It's pretty much set in stone that if she doesn't face consequences for this literal crime, she will continue to act in such ways towards you, unquestioned. By the way, your husband is a sack of turd. What a useless dude. With a spouse like that, who needs enemies? Your husband needs to step up or you'll regret staying with him long term. The husband sounds like he knew what his mother was going to do. Why does she have keys to your house? Your husband should be angry, but alas, I say he agreed with his mother. There's no way he'll go no contact. You'll get told to suck it up or admit to something you never did. Now, OP, you need to decide what you want out of your marriage. Wait for kids for her to say they're not your husband's. If your husband doesn't realize that this is straight up crazy behavior and that you need to be protected from this lunatic, he needs to be an ex. I completely get where you're coming from, and trust me, I've thought about this. Thankfully, my husband has been supportive so far. He's set boundaries with her and is backing me up. That said, I've made it clear to him that if he wavers or doesn't take my safety seriously, we'll have a much bigger problem. This kind of behavior can't be excused, no matter who it's coming from. One time, my mother-in-law was sitting in a car in the back seat behind me. She saw my hair and wanted to touch it, so she reached forward and gently grabbed a handful, running it through her hand. The only thing is, we were in a foreign country with the car windows down, and a motorcyclist had just rolled to a stop next to us at the light. For a split second, I didn't register it was her and thought the motorcyclist was grabbing my hair through the window. I was startled, but not hurt. My husband, then boyfriend, snapped at his mom, saying she can't just grab people or touch them without asking, and that she's scared the crap out of me. Your mother-in-law snuck into your house while you were sleeping and hacked off all your hair. And your husband could only muster a sheepish, "It might have been my mom?" Hun, I think my husband would have to be restrained from screaming obscenities at her. Your husband does not have your back and is not standing up for you. He was clearly aware his mother had some kind of major issue with you and didn't give you a heads up. Now for the updates. Update 1. My husband and I will be going to my mother-in-law tomorrow to talk to her about the situation again. Hopefully, everyone will be calmed down by then, and I won't have to threaten legal action. Thank you for all the support and suggestions. I will keep them in mind. Update 2. After the conversation we had with Diane this morning, I noticed my husband Tim was acting weird. At first, I thought it was just guilt about standing up to his mom, but it felt like more than that. He's been avoiding eye contact and getting defensive when I bring up what happened. Earlier, I couldn't take it anymore, so I sat him down and told him he needed to be 100% honest with me about everything. That's when he dropped the bombshell. Apparently, Diane didn't come up with a haircut idea on her own. Tim admitted that he knew about it ahead of time and even helped her. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. He said he truly thought I was cheating on him with Kyle, my gay coworker, because Diane had convinced him that there was too much evidence to ignore. When she suggested cutting my hair as some kind of weird punishment, he didn't stop her. In fact, he led her into our house that night while I was sleeping. Tim said he didn't want to confront me directly because he wasn't ready for the truth. So instead, he let his mother do this insane thing to me, thinking it would force me to come clean. Afterward, when I didn't admit to cheating, he started to realize he might have been wrong. But by then, he didn't know how to tell me what he'd done. He kept saying, "I'm so sorry, I was just confused. But I honestly don't know how to process this." This wasn't just Diane acting like a lunatic. This was both of them. And my own husband betrayed me in one of the most humiliating ways possible. I packed a bag and I'm staying with a friend tonight while I figure out what to do. I don't know if I can ever trust him again after this. It's not just a haircut, it's the fact that he didn't talk to me, believed the worst about me without any proof, and actively participated in something so cruel and violating. As for Diane, she's officially dead to me. I've already told Tim that I don't want her in my life ever again, regardless of what happens between us. Right now, I'm torn. Part of me wants to file a police report on both of them for what they did, but I'm scared of how messy it will get. Another part of me just wants to cut ties and move on, but that feels like letting them off too easy. I don't know what my next step is, but I do know this. I deserve better than this. Thank you to everyone who has supported me through this. Your comments and advice have meant the world, and I'm truly grateful for the kindness and understanding. It's helping me find the strength to figure out what comes next. Update 3. After everything that's happened, I've been thinking a lot about my next steps, and I've come to a heartbreaking but necessary conclusion. I don't think there is any coming back from this. I trusted Tim with my heart, my safety, my life, and he betrayed me in ways I never thought possible. I can't imagine a future where I feel safe with him, where I can trust him, or where I don't carry the weight of his violation every day. I'm strongly considering filing for divorce. The thought of staying with him feels unbearable, but at the same time, I can't stop worrying about the messiness of it all. I just want to cut ties completely, to walk away and rebuild my life without him or his mother dragging me down any further. As for filing a police report, I'm leaning toward it, but I'm scared of what it might bring. I know what they did was a crime. My own husband led his mother into our home to assault me in my sleep. But the thought of dealing with legal battles, or even just having to relive this again and again in statements, is exhausting. Part of me wants to hold them accountable, but another part just wants to run away and never look back. Right now, I'm taking it one step at a time. I've been talking to friends, trying to find some clarity in all this chaos. It's terrifying and painful, but I know one thing for sure. I deserve so much better than this. Thank you to everyone who has shown me kindness and support. It means the world to me right now. Next story. I want to divorce my wife over her hair. This is just me venting, and I am so exhausted with my wife lately. Our little girl's wedding was back in October, and it was a complete disaster because of my wife. My wife and daughter had gotten into a fight before the wedding, seemingly made up a few days before, so we flew down and were going to stay until after the wedding. When we got there, my wife started complaining about her hair. My daughter suggested a few of the salons around New Orleans that could have fit her in before the wedding. My wife asked her if she would just do her hair. My daughter has her beauty license. My daughter agreed, and that's when the disaster started. My wife's hair was too warm, then too cool, then too warm again. My daughter had done it 3 times in a row, 6 hours each time, because my wife has a lot of hair and wanted to be foiled back to back. Not sure if I phrased that right. My daughter said she couldn't do it again for the 4th time because she didn't want to over-process her hair and that her body was killing her. She said she was becoming burned out from her nursing job, her hair job, and now all the wedding planning and running around. This third appointment was the day of her wedding, by the way. Before it started, my wife said, "Don't take another 10 hours to do it." My wife became very short and snippy with her and complained about her hair the entire time. She kept sending my daughter pictures of hair colors she liked and telling her she colored it too gray and cool. My daughter was in tears during her wedding because she said her feet were blistered, making it hard for her to walk in the heels she had purchased for her wedding day. Her husband gently asked us if we could go home the day after the wedding, and I, of course, agreed. I was continuously telling my wife that her hair looked amazing and to leave our daughter alone, but she kept saying this is her job. I snapped at her after the second appointment and said enough is enough. I also learned that my daughter had spent over $400 just on a product for my wife's hair. My little girl and her husband make enough to sustain themselves and live comfortably. But I know that after their wedding, they wanted to tighten their belts and start saving for a house because they plan on trying for kids soon. After the wedding, my wife completely blew up once we got home, saying her hair was a mess and that she was going to have to pay a lot of money to get it fixed. She texted our daughter and ripped into her, saying what she wanted wasn't that hard and that she completely destroyed her hair. Our daughter just replied that she was sorry and hasn't talked to us since. She sent me a happy Thanksgiving text and told me she loved me, but she hasn't talked to her mom since that text, and she only keeps in regular contact with her siblings. I am so beyond pissed off. She worked hard, coming off a 16-hour nursing shift and immediately doing her mom's hair for 6 hours, and then 2 more 6-hour appointments back to back, and my wife is still ungrateful? This isn't the woman I married. This isn't the mother that I know. If I have to hear about her precious hair one more time, I'm going to leave, because no hair is worth her relationship with her daughter. Now for the top advice. This sounds like it wasn't actually about the hair. This sounds like she was purposefully sabotaging the week and finding a reason to go after her afterward. Something else is going on here. Opie says in other posts that his wife pushed her about having a wedding when she didn't want it. It was bad enough that they eloped and the wife/mom was upset. I'm still thinking she's just angry about that and that this child marches on her own tune, which is completely opposite of her mother's. Who the heck let this happen? It took me halfway through to realize she had a bride styling her hair for freaking 18 hours around the wedding. Where was the best man, maid of honor, fiancé, and especially Opie? It's your freaking job to run interference with this kind of nonsense to keep the bride and groom out of this kind of nonsense. Is your wife menopausal and acting crazy? I say this as a woman because my mom was out of character and straight up mean for years with that. Maybe she needs help. Not excusing her, this is awful for everyone concerned, but if you don't want to lose your wife and your daughter, it's maybe something to consider. Not that I know of. She has monthly doctor visits and she's as healthy as a horse. She still gets her period monthly. I know this because I'm the one that has to buy her supplies. But maybe it's premenopause? Is it a thing? I've heard of it, but I don't know if it's a myth. Why does she have monthly doctor's visits? She's trying to lose weight, so she's been on this medication since the beginning of the year and does monthly weight check-ins. It helps hold her accountable and ensures she's still doing okay on the meds because they can cause side effects like heart issues. Is your wife on phentermine? That will definitely make someone act like an insufferable a-hole. It's essentially speed. Yeah, that's exactly the med she's on. She's taking 30 milligrams twice a day. Should I tell her doctor about this? Holy, that's a really high dose. I've used it successfully in the past, but it did severely affect my mood. And I had to be very careful not to be a witch. My GP advised that the max prescribed is 30 milligrams once a day, and a responsible prescriber will usually try to reduce to 15 milligrams. It's also not recommended for more than 3 months, with a max of 2 3-month courses allowed, provided you take a 1-month break after the first 3. I've used it twice in the last 5 years, but the second time, I had to stop early due to extreme anxiety. It's not a medication to take lightly, and there are better options out there now. Last story. My mother told me who my dad cheated on her with. My 17 male parents divorced around 2019 or 20 because my dad had been cheating on my mom for years at that point. Why it had taken her so long when it wasn't really a secret isn't really important. In 2022, I got a boyfriend. He was the brother of a friend I had when I was young, so we were somewhat familiar. We also go to the same school and have mutual friends. A few months ago, we split up for unrelated reasons after 2 years of dating. I was pretty crushed because I wasn't expecting it, so I went to my mother for comfort. It was my first breakup, so she tried to console me by telling me stories. At some point, she started talking about how she handled the split from my dad because, even though she knew he is an utter a-hole, divorcing someone after a 16-year marriage is still hard. Eventually, we started talking about his cheating and the things he had done. She began listing women she knew he cheated on her with, which, amongst others, included the woman he is now married to and a colleague of his. After that, she paused for a moment and asked me if I wanted her to tell me about someone she knew I would be particularly shocked by. I said sure. I expected maybe my godmother, not that she seems like that kind of woman, I just wouldn't have expected it. But she told me he cheated on her with the mother of my ex-boyfriend. I feel weird about it now, as I did then, because she really is a sweet woman and also married, happily. It seemed to me over the 2 years I was dating her son. They had recently had another child together, and I really hope that child isn't just a last-ditch effort to stay together like my little brother was. Your ex found out, and that's why he ended things. Don't think so. We are still in contact. If he knew, he would be a lot different. The breakup was sudden, but it wasn't because of that. My dad and he never properly met while we were together, and I wouldn't think my mom or his mother told him. His dad doesn't know, I think. I think you should ask him to meet up and discuss your breakup again and tell him what you know/have been told. God, no. He is younger than me and still living with his parents. I don't know what his dad knows, and I don't want to be the reason their marriage is over. That's their issue to work through. I know why he ended things, if what he told me is the truth and it seems plausible, and it has nothing to do with that situation. It's ultimately your choice. But since you're still friendly with your ex, I'm surprised at your lack of empathy and lack of morals. He and his father deserve to know the truth. And while you may not want to be the one to tell them, but someone should. If you don't, you're complacent and condoning the affair.